Jenny Turner with Lovejoy Real Estate. Today we're here talking to Chandler because Chandler and Abby just closed on their first house, and he had some questions about what he should do maintenance-wise, just kind of what you should do to be prepared as a brand new homeowner who's never owned before, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think the idea is also just the seasonal, monthly, how do I stay organized if 5-10 years down the line we want to sell the house, what's going to be the easiest that I get look back and I go, I'm really glad I saved that document, or I'm really glad that I had all this together to make that process easy.
Well, first off, kudos, because you're actually thinking about it up front, right?
I know.
That's going to make it a little easier. My first thing that I would recommend a new buyer does is change the locks. Okay. You don't know who the seller gave keys to, even if the sellers were amazing, fabulous, wonderful people. Maybe they had a crazy cousin who also had a key. So the first thing I would recommend is that you change all the locks. Okay. Back doors, garage doors, reprogram the garage door opener. Because I don't know if you're anything like me, my car is programmed to my garage. Yeah. Okay. And so make sure you change all of those kinds of security things first off. Okay. If the house has any smart items like a Ring doorbell, those usually convey with the sale, but you need to make sure that you get the passwords from the previous owner or they clear it out, because sometimes that's just kind of a hassle as we go back and forth. Okay. I don't think in your case the house had any smart features, but just be aware of that. So focus on that, kind of securing the house as your very first step. So
that's kind of the first step. And so, I mean, we're moving in, soon. Yep. And so first step would be that, but then what are some other steps that we take, just initial?
Well, utilities in your name, right? So we planned on that. Sometimes if you're going to do some work, which I know you guys are going to do some like painting and asbestos removals and things like that before you move in, you might wait to change the locks until after those contractors have been through. Okay. Now, if it's just family, you're going to do it yourself, no big deal. Yeah. But if you're going to have a combo box on there with a key and lots of contractors having access, sometimes it's better to wait until that's done before you secure the home. Gotcha. Then I think maybe just starting with your home inspection report, right? Like you got that report, that's a really good honey-do list. Things that a lot of people don't think about are like cleaning the gutters, especially we're going into the rainy season. True. As we go into the rainy season, making sure those gutters are clean, the water can flow away from the house. That's why we end up with water in the crawl space, because people just don't pay attention to kind of where that water is on the outside. And honestly, over the summer, you don't have to worry about it too much, but going into September, October, November, you do have to pay attention to that. So water is going to be a big thing. I also think knowing where some things are before you have an emergency, like how do you turn the gas off? Do you have a key to turn the gas off? It takes a special wrench. How do you turn the water off? Is there a whole house water shutoff valve, or do you need to turn it off at the meter? If you need to turn it off at the meter, you need to have a special T-wrench to do that. Yeah. Do you have a special T-wrench? Right. Yeah. Probably not, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. maybe not. So thinking about like those kinds of things proactively, so that if a toilet overflows and it's flooding and you have a huge problem, you don't have to then scramble and think, how do I do this? True. You just know water, gas, those kinds of things are easy. Okay. The other thing I think you should think about is as you go into the winter months, like hose bib covers, have those bought ahead of time. So you're not scrambling that first day that it freezes. You also might get some ice melts, because like the sidewalk in front of your house is your responsibility. Yeah. The street that you bought on is going to have some pedestrian traffic walking on it. So making sure you have some ice melt so that people don't fall and hurt themselves out there. A lot of times homeowners don't think about the fact that that sidewalk is the homeowner's responsibility and their liability. Totally. Sometimes things happen that you don't expect, right? So I had a house in Southwest Portland, pipes froze at a big storm. Everything flooded. Yeah. So being proactive around things like that, like if it's going to be really cold, making sure you keep your cupboard doors open, you keep the heat on. This is a rental, so my renter wasn't paying very much attention, right? Yeah. But unbeknownst to me, all the pipes were kind of in an exposed part of the basement and they weren't insulated. And I didn't know that. So paying attention to that kind of stuff before you have a disaster on your hands can sometimes be a good idea. A lot of it's cold weather related, right? True. Being prepared just in general, like if you lose power, do you have a lantern? Do you have some candles? Do you have things like that? So that in case of, it's okay.
So as you know that from the house, it's a fixer. Yep. Cosmetic mainly, but good bones. But definitely roof coming up, furnace. I mean, the main things are in the future. Yep. How would you, if you were the one that bought the house, how would you kind of plan and prioritize? Would you start just squirreling money away right now, or how would you kind of get that list together?
That's a great question. The roof is something I would not wait till you have problems. Okay. I sold a house in Hillsdale once, and that seller had told me that the roof was old, but it never leaked. That's what she told me, it never leaked. Okay. And when we got there for the home inspection, the entire attic area was covered in mold. Oh. Because although the roof had never leaked, quote unquote, had never gotten water inside her house, moisture was getting through that roof. Yeah. So a roof is something that I would say, plan on, be proactive, get it replaced. From a resale perspective, I'd always do a full tear-off roof. Don't just add a layer. And since you know this isn't your forever house, I would give that recommendation. Furnace, let it go till it dies.
Okay.
And furnaces can be workhorses.
Yeah.
Now, you know it's going to die because you know it's already past its lifespan. It's a normal lifespan.
Yeah.
Keep it serviced. Have it serviced every single year.
Okay.
That will extend its lifespan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't proactively replace a furnace because the cost, like a new furnace will be more efficient.
Yeah.
But the cost, you'll never get it back.
Totally.
So just let it go as long as it possibly can.
But maybe plan for it. Start pushing money away.
Absolutely. Because it could happen, right?
Absolutely.
As a homeowner, you need a little bigger emergency fund.
Yeah.
You need to prepare for that furnace dying or that water heater going out or those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Water heaters, on average, last 10 to 12 years. Same things, they can last a lot longer than that, but on average, 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
A water heater, I would just pay attention to where it was. I just sold a house in Gladstone, and the water heater was in the main floor utility room, and it was like 38 years old. It was the oldest water heater I think I've ever sold. And when water heaters die, most of the time, they explode and water goes everywhere. In this particular case, because where the water heater was, if it explodes, like my clients' belongings would all be flooded and ruined.
Oh, true.
So I was really clear with James and Sarah, like you should replace that water heater proactively sooner rather than later, because it wasn't like in a garage where if water got there, it wouldn't hurt anything,
it's
right?
going to cost a lot more than $1,000.
Yeah, and a new water heater is like $1,500, like max.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge expense, but sometimes that is worth being proactive.
Okay.
But furnaces, just let it go. Just let it go. And if we're 5 years down the road and we're selling your house and that furnace is still just a going, it's still just a going. The house will be worth a little bit more if it had a new furnace. But if it's working, that's what we look at in real estate, right? Yeah. So maintain it, have it serviced, have somebody pay attention to it. The other thing to think about, if anybody in your family has allergies, is have the ducts cleaned. No one ever has their ducts cleaned. And those get really gross. So especially as you move in, you don't know about the previous owners. Maybe they had pets in the past. I know they don't right now, but maybe they did. So those ducts can be really dirty. So having somebody come in and vacuum those out can be a good idea.
Absolutely.
In your case, you might wait till you're done with your construction.
I think that'd be best.
Right?
Yeah,
because you're going to be disturbing things. We know you have asbestos in the ceiling that we're going to be taking out.
Yeah.
So wait till all that's done. But before you move in, have those ducts cleaned. Yeah. And then you'll just know you're walking into really clean air. Yeah, true. And everything can be good that way.
True. Okay. Do you have kind of a yearly, I get this serviced on this time, I get that? Because one of the things is like my grandfather, he owns a ranch house, had it since 1970 when it was built, and he's just meticulous. It's year over year. You know, as soon as the time changes in the spring and the fall, he replaced all the batteries in the alarm detector, like smoke detectors. So it's like for watching him, he's just so in rhythm with everything in his house, and everything is crossed and dotted.
I love some of those houses, right?
Yeah.
Some of those things are old-fashioned.
Okay.
Like smoke alarms today have a 10-year lithium battery. You don't need to change it twice a year. Like,
Gotcha.
It's just not required.
Yeah.
It is important that you have a smoke alarm that works,
Absolutely.
right? I have a new listing coming up, and I walked through with my seller and the contractor, and 5 of the smoke alarms were missing.
Oh.
And I'm like, John, like, it's amazing your house didn't burn down.
Yeah, right.
He's like, they were beeping. They were annoying me. Like, so we're going to replace those. Don't let that happen. But you don't have to change your batteries twice a year anymore. Okay. That's kind of an old-fashioned thing.
Gotcha.
That said, there's a lot, if you just go on Amazon or you just Google it, there's lots of like home maintenance planners you could go through and keep records of. A lot of that stuff I don't think is very important. The doing is important, but I don't need, when I go sell your house, the records of you servicing your furnace once a year for the last 15 years. Okay. We're going to know that you've been doing that because your furnace is going to be in good shape. In good shape. Okay. And I can just say that you've been doing that, and that's really good enough. Things that are helpful is like when you replace the roof, keep the receipt. Okay. If nothing else, because then when I ask you what year you replaced it, no one ever remembers. And you can be like, I replaced it in 2024. Okay. So kind of keep together the big items, the ones that get a timestamp of, hey, we replaced roof 4 years ago or 2 years ago, or furnace went out 3 years ago, we replaced that. Not a, hey, in February of 2027, we did nothing. I don't care that much detail, right? I don't need to know when you clean your gutters. Okay. You do need to do that stuff consistently. Absolutely. So setting a calendar reminder, something like that is a good idea. Yeah. But some of that's just watching it, right? Like if it rains a lot and you have a lot of leaves, like you have quite a few trees around your house. Yeah. You're probably going to have to clean the gutters more than somebody else might have to. Okay. And like we're going right into that season now. Like I have the first leaves falling at our house. Yeah. So it's like, okay, start paying attention to this. Right. Like we're going to have to do it. And sometimes that's nice where it's like, okay, that nice sunny Saturday in November, take advantage of it and get up there and do it. So you're not having to do it in the pouring down rain. Sure. Right. Okay. What other projects are you going to do in your house before you move in? So at this point, we're doing paint. Inside paint? Inside paint. We're still talking about if you want to do popcorn ceiling, scrape that or not. That might be something we just do down the line, and we put that money towards something else. It's hard to do that down the line. I know. We're kind of in this
middle because it's pretty expensive.
Yep.
And we take that money and put it into about 2 other projects. And so we're talking about where our list is. But our top of our list is definitely flooring.
The thing about asbestos ceilings and popcorn ceilings is it's just a cosmetic thing. Yeah. Right? It doesn't hurt anything. It's just cosmetic. Yeah. But scraping them is really messy.
I know.
So it's going to be hard to scrape them down the road. We talked about the other option being just covering them, right? And putting a thin piece of sheetrock over them. Yeah. The problem with the house you bought is it doesn't have really high ceilings. No. They're not low, but they're not really high. Yeah. Not that you would probably notice, a 1/4 inch. You wouldn't. But scraping probably is the better of the 2 options. Yeah.
And we're kind of making that decision based upon when we pull off those foam beams.
Yes.
And we're going to see if the underbelly of that is already scraped or not. If it's scraped, then we might just have to go and suck it up and scrape everything because you're going to have 3 lines of popcorn, not popcorn.
Yeah.
And
the house has really funky wood beams, but they're really plastic beams. Yeah. And we think they're just decorative.
I think they may have just put them up and screwed them in, but I don't know. Maybe they scraped it. I don't know. So we're kind of gauging that what direction we want to go based upon when we take that down.
My bet is you have popcorn underneath it.
I hope. Because I don't want to spend that much money on popcorn ceiling.
Does Abby want to?
Yes, because she wants kind of the Pinterest, pretty white, light brown, all this stuff, and popcorn just doesn't fit. Doesn't fit in that Pinterest.
Is it popcorn everywhere? Not kitchen?
Not kitchen and not closets.
Okay, but bedrooms, hallway, living room. Mm-hmm. So I know Abby has a huge Pinterest board for this house. Yeah. What kind of things does she have on there? Are you guys going to do a bunch of shiplap? What's her style going to be?
We're doing LVP flooring. Okay. Light brown. We're going to do maybe 2-3 inch trim around all the doorways, things like that.
3 inch or 4 inch is the answer. Probably 3 inch with your ceiling height. Yeah. Not 2 inch. That's too shallow. Okay. That's too short.
We'll see. What else are we doing? We're painting everything white. Okay. And then we're thinking about...
Because white's the new gray.
It is, of course.
Right? Yeah. We were beige everything, then gray everything, and now we're white everything. Yeah. And my sellers are they're always like, Jenny, I hate white. I'm like, it's white. White is what to do. And it'll be a great just palette for you guys.
Yes. And so we're kind of sticking with the light browns, white, that type of, little pretty fake plant in the corner type of vibe.
So shiplap or no?
Probably not. To be honest. Okay. Probably not.
Maybe that's been done?
Yeah.
Okay.
We hope.
Maybe. And you're not keeping the green carpet?
We're not keeping the green carpet. No. I wanted to keep the green carpet and do everything else in the house and only keep the green carpet just to I don't know. But she didn't want to do that. No. She didn't do that. No. I thought the green carpet was funny. So
you guys are going to do the floors yourself, right? With family help?
Yes.
Have you done anything like that before?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we did it at the farm.
Good. So you practiced already somewhere else, and you're going to get better. Yeah. I have no DIY experience. I can't even paint. When we painted our Hood River house, 3 days in, I was standing on a ladder in the bathtub with the paint. Yeah. And I don't know, it wasn't very steady, and I fell, which the falling was fine. I was not hurt. Yeah. But the gallon of paint that was on top went everywhere. Yeah. And Charles is like, you can't paint. I'm like, thank you. God, I did not want to paint anyways. Right. So it was winning for me. But you have a much more sense of detail than I do. So you're probably pretty good at the painting and those kind of things. No.
See, Abby's fantastic at painting.
Okay.
Abby's mom's fantastic at painting. Her grandfather's not. Greg is not. I'm not. And so we tag team.
So you're in the floors while they do the painting.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I got X'd from doing any type of painting when I started painting, blue on the white ceiling. Sometimes, by accident,
There's a saying, don't do a crappy job well.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you're not good at it, then they won't ask you to do it anymore.
Yeah. So the one thing I know we're not going to do is, I don't want to say cut corners, but we want to make sure we put up good materials. Because first of all, we're going to live in it, so we want to have those nice things. Yep. But also, we might turn into a rental one day. So we want it to be durable, we want it to last, we want it to be kind of timeless in a sense. And low maintenance, right? So I know one of the things that's kind of popular is throwing up on the backsplash is just putting up a fake paper type of backsplash,
fake tile looking
fake
stuff,
tile, and we decided we're not going to do that. We're not going to cut corners, make it easy just to make it pretty for now.
You're either not going to do it or you're going to do it right.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we were to do it, we do subway tiles.
I think things that people do like that, butcher block counters are a great example. Yeah. Butcher block counters are pretty inexpensive. Yeah. They're easy to put in. They look really nice for about 2 days. Yeah. And then it's really hard to maintain them. Renters obviously can't maintain them at all. Mm-hmm. I love LVP for that. We are seeing luxury we are seeing luxury vinyl plank in $1 million homes, but it's also super durable. It's great for dogs. It's great for water.
Exactly.
Now, I would tell you, make sure you buy a good enough quality. You always want to buy at least a 6 millimeter version. And they can go thicker than that too, but really 6 is good enough.
Yeah.
But I read a bunch of reports of like 2 or 3. You'll get it's thinner, and so sometimes the floor transitions are better, but it won't look as good and it won't wear as well.
Yeah.
And I agree, like doing it the right way first goes a long ways.
And we want to do it kind of in groups as well. So we don't want to do flooring and then we still have bad paint on the wall, or we don't want to do like all new appliances in the kitchen, but then it's like dated from 1970 type of thing.
Yeah,
so like we want to do it.
You have to stop somewhere.
I know you have to stop somewhere, but we want to do it in sections. So it's like we get flooring done, paint pretty, move in, and then eventually down the line do full kitchen, get that done.
It's hard though sometimes to know like where to balance that, right? Like in your case, if you do your kitchen remodel, you'll probably remove walls. Yeah. Well, when you remove walls, now your flooring won't work anymore, right?
Yeah.
So make sure when you buy your flooring, you buy an extra case.
Yeah.
Because looking forward, you'll want to know that, hey, when I do this, an LVP is pretty easy to pop back up and put back down, but make sure you have the same dialogue, right?
Well, especially if that type of LVP is not being manufactured anymore.
Yep.
You
have a little extra. One of the tricks that I do is I paint all of our rental properties the same color inside. Yeah. And really kind of the same color outside too. But that way I just know that our interiors are Benjamin Moore super white.
There you go.
And every single house is painted that way. Yeah. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. And then we kind of do the same thing on the outside. And if I'm remodeling, it's like the same quartz, the same backsplash. I know that Lowe's has a really great 3x12 kind of hand done white subway. It's inexpensive. And it always looks good. Like it's always timeless. It always looks good.
And when did you start doing that?
Oh my God. Like 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if this was a plan you had from the beginning.
No. It wasn't a plan, but I mean, and styles change a little bit, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But I've kind of gotten in a rhythm where I know that if I do this certain palette, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make decisions.
Yeah.
And it's timeless enough that like the house on Seymour, we're not going to sell right now. We probably won't sell it for 5, 6, 10 years. And I don't want to redo it if I don't have to, right? If I can do things now that aren't so dated. Yeah. So that house had black granite countertops and black granite backsplash. They were tile, not slab, but they were granite. It was so dark. The cabinetry is pretty good, but the kitchen was really dark because of that black. So we're just taking that out, putting white quartz in, white subway backsplash, and that should be timeless enough that when we sell it, we won't have to redo it.
Exactly. Or
fingers crossed.
Little touch-ups, things like that. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome. One of the things is that Abby and I got locked in 7.5 interest rate, right? Yep. And as you know, we really focused on payment and what works monthly for us and how we can live and still be able to afford a house and things like that, right? And so the 7.5, we know it'll go down. If it goes up, we'll be fine. Happy we got 7.5, right? Yep. We're just ecstatic that we're in a house. Yep. Do you monitor if you're at 7.5? Do you monitor when is there a good time to refinance, or what's kind of your rule with that? 0.5% is the traditional rule. Okay. If it goes down 0.5%, it's a math problem. Yeah. And it depends on where you are in that bell curve of your mortgage. So Stephen was your lender, working with Stephen on that. Like I know at some point I'm going to be picking up the phone and calling all of my clients, being like, hey, you need to refinance. Yeah. Okay. I know you need to refinance. And even as not a lender, I'll be able to say that to them. Yeah. So we will all monitor it for everyone too. But the general rule is about 0.5%. Okay. I asked him a couple of years ago when rates were really, really low. We have 2 rental properties that are on 15-year mortgages, and we only have about 4 or 5 years left on those 2 houses. And at that point, he's like, nope, I could have got a lower interest rate, but because of where we were, the fees associated with it, it didn't make any sense. So refinancing is a math problem, right? Now, a lot of our clients probably today will be refinancing in the next 24 to 36 months. Yeah. I keep saying that, but I still think that. Yep. And they're probably going to refinance more than once. But you want to be careful because refinancing does have fees most of the time. Not always. So we also have to kind of shop that and play around with that. And that's a whole different conversation, Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But as rates go down and you can refinance, that's going to make the affordability factor better for you. Yeah. And then as a homeowner, depending on where you are with wealth building, you could continue to make those same payments and just pay down your principal faster. Sure. Or you could bank some money to buy the next property or to do the next project or whatever that is. Yeah. But what we focused on with you and Abby was affordability, right? What's the monthly payment that gets you what you want? Absolutely. And we started with attached homes that were pretty and done and shiny, kind of farther out. Yep. And we ended up landing on a pretty centrally located Portland house, detached, that needs quite a bit of work.
And has
right?
a backyard. which
and it has a backyard.
We were shooting
really
for.
A beautiful backyard. I mean, maybe a little high maintenance.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you going to unhigh maintenance it a little bit?
We have to talk about it, but basically the backyard is, my vision is long grass, throw the ball, dogs can run.
And that's not what it is right now. You have paths and ponds and...
No, and so basically the only conversation we've gotten to is, do we remove the pond or not? Because
you're worried about the dog getting wet?
Well, we're going to remove the water regardless, because we all know the dog's going to drink the water and then, but we're just thinking about, do we pull the pond out, or if that's going to be the start, how far are we going with this?
Right.
So that's a future.
I was going to say, I think if you focus on the inside, then you can do the outside.
Yeah. So, well, the thing about with us just putting money into high quality materials and really making it so it's comfortable for us, something that we like, but we also have in the back of our head that this isn't our forever home. And in 5-10 years down the line, we might not like that color anymore. It might not be in style, things like that. But we know going forward is that we want to put good money into good items, because then it allows us to, if we want to sell it, we're gonna get some money out of that. And also, if we want to rent it out, we're going to get the durability factor as well. So talk to me about the renting it out part, because I know that's something you guys have been thinking about, is using this as a stepping stone to building wealth and keeping this as a rental property down the road. Is when you were looking at properties, what kind of things did you think about with that in mind? Well, in front of mind, it was just if we can afford a house at this point, trying to buy a house, and then getting in there and then kind of figuring it out. But once this one clicked, and we saw how many bedrooms, location, things, it's really like, oh wow. I mean, I was kind of hoping you weren't going to buy it, right? I'd have bought it. I know. I mean, that's the best compliment, is when you're like, I would have bought this for rental. I'm like, oh, there we go. But for us, it was more of like, we have this house now, and we're putting these good things in that we like, but also with the mindset of, we don't know if we want to rent it out. We don't know where we'll be at in 3, 4, 5 years. Hopefully, have enough money in the bank to buy another house or something like that. Like, we have plans, we have goals, but also just want to make sure that we're prepared to, if we want to change routes or if we want to go a different way, whatever it may be, that we can do that. So, and it does meet a lot of good criteria as a rental. So it's a good option to have in the future. But you're right, you don't know, like, in that, like, and I love when people say, like, 5, 10, 15 years when I sell it. I'm like, oh, 3 to 4 years when you sell it. Right? Because life changes, and that's just what happens. But being able to choose to keep it as a rental is a great thing. What we want to keep in mind as we look at that, though, is refinancing it before you do that. So making sure you refinance it while it's still your primary residence, and it's still going to be your primary residence for a while, because rates will be better, assuming rates go down, right? But that's one of the advantages of buying something, moving into it, and then putting it as a rental, because you get to finance it as an owner-occupied. Absolutely. And lenders say you need to live there for 12 months. It's a 12-month intention. So, and we know you guys will live there much more than 12 months, right? But that's kind of what the banks look at is, hey, you're going to owner-occupy it for at least 12 months, then you qualify for this kind of finance. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite investors, he actually is now retired. He's 38, 39, lives in Europe, travels, doesn't have to work, owns a 28-plex in Olympia, Washington. And he built his wealth. He's an engineer nerd, like software guy, like totally analytical. But he built his wealth by buying a condo, moving into it, the VA loan, 0 down. Kept that as a rental, bought a duplex through me. I didn't help him with the condo. Bought a duplex, moved into it with FHA loan. 3.5% down, lived in it for 12 months and 1 day, put a renter in it, bought a 4-plex, VA financing now, because he had enough left over on his VA, so 0 down on a 4-plex, lived there for like 12 months and 1 day, bought a duplex. He ended up buying 7 properties, and then sold them off, bought the 28-plex in Olympia, and peace out, retired. Now, he had to move a lot. Get it. He was single, so that probably made it easier, right? He didn't care that he lived in a 4-plex off 52nd and Foster. But those were all great investments and great stepping stones for him to get where he wanted to go. I mean, and that's the idea, right? Is creating this stepping stone, this opportunity that we have, and using it as a stepping stone, but also having it where it's like, you know what direction do we want to take this, right? Kind of preparing ourselves for the future of, we don't know where we'll be in 5 years, or what position we'll be in, but, can we go this route, and can we go this route, and kind of planning best case scenario for that. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you, Jenny, for having me. Jenny Turner with Lovejoy Real Estate. Please follow us and listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Chandler Schur with Lovejoy Real Estate. If you want to buy a house and experience that first time home buyer experience, let me know. Shoot me a DM.